Hi BookTube, and welcome to a new video. I'm conscious that I'm doing fewer BookTube videos this year, mainly because I have a new book out myself, but also because this is my year of reading big books, which means I had less time to read other books around the side of them because they take so much time. So I thought I'd do a sort of a check-in looking at both of those things, and a bit of a sort of TBR-ish thing sort of tacked on to the end. So we're about to end. Well, not about to. We're halfway through February. We're going to go into March, which is traditionally March at the Mammoth, and I participated that since it's been going, and I failed miserably to achieve the aim of finishing the Mammoths that I've picked up. One was The Infinite Jest by David Foster Wallace. One was Duck's Report by Lucy Ellerman. I got as far as 245 pages within March on Infinite Jest. I did 200 pages on Duck's Report in March, although I have since read another 100 pages. But the problem with both of them is I just had a mental block as I was reading them, which is no reflection on the books themselves, because I'm really enjoying Duck's Report, and I'm okay with Infinite Jest so far. But the problem I've had where I was reading them in March was that I felt sort of I was missing out. I wasn't able to read anything else, that those books were denying me both the actual time and headspace to read anything else, and I was really struggling with that. So both books are sort of in my sort of to be read pile still, and there are other books which I haven't started reading, equal sized, and I just thought 2021 I was going to set myself the challenge to clear those books, and so that I could actually file them on my red shelves. And I've picked 10 books. Some of them include, ones I've started, like Duck's Report, and like The Infinite Jest, like James Joyce Ulysses, and others I hadn't sort of started at all. And I was interested to see how I would cope with this. And so I've read the one for January, I've read the one for February, so far I'm 2 for 2. March is going to be interesting because we are doing, I say we because this is a group read of The Recognitions by William Gaddis, coming in at about 956 pages. And I say it's going to be interesting because the book I read in January was XX by Rian Hughes, and I will post the link to my review of that, which was 5-star. The book I read in February was Larry Kramer's The American People Volume 2, The Brutality of Fact, which was 880 pages, and I shall post the link to the review of that. And they were both 5-star reads, but in a way they were not what you'd call maximalist books. So I think the concept of maximalist is a bit redundant myself. We all know what minimalist means, so John McGregor would be a minimalist author. And personally, I'm not into minimalism. Definitely in literature, but probably actually in most art, although I do like abstract expressionism. So anyway, maximalist seems to be the opposite of that, in that you have big books, well, yes, check, tick, with sort of greater complexity and probably a lot of different sort of literary techniques used within that. Now, both XX and The American People Volume 2, though big, were not maximalist books by that definition. Yes, they were big books, but they weren't particularly complex in sort of both literary techniques and also in the language. This, I suspect, very much is. So this will be my first maximalist read of the Mammoth books I read this year. So far, it's going well. Hopefully, being a group read, I'll get through the Recognitions in March. Then I'll be 3 for 3, fingers crossed. But then I'm going to have to work out what I'm going to take on next, because I hadn't read any of the 3 I would have read by the end of March. So there might be a need to pick up a book that I am partway through, be it Infinite Jest, be it Duck's Report, be it Ulysses. So far I'm on track, but it does mean obviously I have read fewer books so far, but that doesn't mean I've been buying fewer books. So it's probably since the turn of the new year I've bought 20 books, and each of them siren calling me, read me, pick me up. Now some of them I have read, but sort of a random selection of these. Several of these are calling to me. So the new Percival Everett book called Telephone. Amin Malouf's The Disoriented, which is a sort of Lebanese-French author book about migration. I'm really looking forward to this. I think it might be Eric Carl Anderson's channel I saw that on. Anna Cavan, A Scarcity of Love. It's quite hard to get hold of Anna Cavan's books, and I'm always sort of periodically looking at what's available, and this became available. Platts, a novel by John Treffry, and this is published by Inside the Castle, which was a label, I say label, that's the music part of me. This is a publishing house that's highly recommended for experimental fiction in America, and I think this sort of architectural pattern is very much plays to what this novel is, which is more about the architecture of this novel rather than, but more than say plot or story or whatever. The Council of Egypt, which I actually hauled towards the end of last year, by the Italian Leonardo Sciascia, which is about storytelling and fiction. Anne Quinn, Passages. So she wrote 4 novels in her life. This is the 4th. I've read 2. I've started the 3rd. This is the 4th. Anne Quinn was one of the few sort of British avant-garde experimentalists of the 1960s, along with B.S. Johnson. So looking forward to that. Cyclopedia, which I have actually started but only read 20 odd pages of. This was recommended by Jason over at Jason Has Books. And The Octopus Man by Jasper Gibson, which is about a man and his sort of fragmenting identity, in the sense that he sort of almost ceases to recognise who he is as sort of mental illness. This was definitely on Eric Carl Anderson's channel. So lots of books that, are siren calling me. Now, I finished my big book for February, and we are, the 20th today, something like that. So I do have 8 days free choice. And I'm reading this, Michael E. Veal, Dub, which is non-fiction. It's about the history and techniques of the music genre dub. And the reason I'm reading this will become clear in a minute. So, going to moving on now to my own book called Stories We Tell Our Children. That was due to come out in April, and it's been pushed back due to a variety of reasons, which I'm quite happy to accept, to the 15th of July. That's when it will be published. And I ought to say that I've seen the front cover, and it's a delicious cover. I can't reveal it just yet, but it's quite provocative. So, everything's in place. It just needs to go off to the printers. It's been typeset and everything. So, we're now February. It's not coming out for 5 months. 2 months before, that will be when I will be sort of concentrating on the marketing and making sort of videos and things like that. I mean, I've already been doing that anyway, because I assumed it was going to be out in April. So I've got quite a bit of that done, but there is still more to do. So I've got this sort of couple of months really, where on the writing side, there's a bit of a sort of free space. So I'm glad to report that I'm not going to waste that time and let grass grow under my feet. I'm writing something new. Although a lot of it is gathering together of unpublished short stories and flash fictions, which are very much in the experimental mode. And I put them all together for the first time, and that's about 44,000 words. So I'm almost at a 50,000, 55,000 word collection without really writing anything new. But there are still to go on top of that. One story, which is probably the most experimental, which I haven't started yet. There's another one which is currently being formatted for me, because it's all about the look and layout on the page. I used a software to do it originally, but I hadn't purchased software. It's free to use software with a time limit. So all I could do, because I couldn't keep my access to this software, so all I could do was take a PDF of it, or save it as a PDF. And unfortunately, it even though you could expand the PDF in terms of blowing up its size, you couldn't publish it with that facility. It would only publish at the minimalist size that the work was done on. So I've commissioned someone to help me sort of reformat and lay that out so that it's a proper size, and then I can slot it into the rest of the book. So that's written, but it hasn't been added yet because it's been reformatted. There's another one where I'm in a similar thing, although I have formatted it myself. It's a Word document. Of course, the whole thing is a Word document, but because it uses 5 columns across the page, as soon as I insert that, it sort of absorbs the formatting from the rest of the book, which is just the normal one block column printing. So I have to figure out a way of doing that. So I think, once I've written the piece that's not written yet, it will be about a 50,000 word collection, as I say, quite radical, experimental type of narrative. And I'm calling the collection Mark Nash in Dub. Hence, I'm reading this book and another book I have to read on certain dub techniques. If you're interested, we can have a discussion of that. I'm not particularly intending to draw this video out by talking about dub. I will say that reading this book is taking a long time, even though it's only 250 pages, because I have to stop every so often to go and listen to the reggae dub track that they're referencing in here. I've heard of a lot of them, and I have a lot in my collection, but equally some of the older stuff from the early 70s, which are only ever available on vinyl, hence on 7-inch single vinyl. Hence, I don't own them in my digital-only collection. So it's taking a long time to get through the book because I'm stopping to launch onto Spotify or YouTube, and in some cases purchase them as well, I have to say, where they are available. So this is going to probably take up half of my 4 days left in February, and then unfortunately I won't be able to get to any of those other books because I have a time-sensitive review of a new book, a debut book, which I haven't shown you yet. So that will take up my last 4 days. So, I'm pleased to be writing, although really it's mainly an editing job, although I'm really enjoying the title story for Indub, which is the one I have yet to write. I mean, I've been collecting words for it. That's kind of all I can say, and thinking about how these words relate to one another in a dub style, as if it was sort of musical dub. So that's on the sort of personal writing front. So that was my catch up. If any of that strikes you as interesting or needing further elaboration, please fire a comment in the down below, and I'll do my best to answer them. I mean, there are certain things I can't talk about at this stage, particularly with the book that's due to be published in July. But far away, and I'll see if I can answer them for you. Okay, so that was a bit of a catch up. Thanks very much. Till next time.